everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel. In this video, I will guide you about the information barriers, which is a compliance feature in the Microsoft Purview. So during the course of this video, I will discuss about the licensing and permissions requirement for using this feature. And I would request that you don't skip this video, otherwise you may end up missing critical piece of information. Right, so without any further ado, let's get started. First, let's understand what is information barriers, also known as IB. So IB is a compliance solution in the Microsoft Purview that allows administrators to control communication and collaboration between groups of users in the Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and OneDrive. During the course of this video, I'll only be focusing on Microsoft Teams. I may create another video for SharePoint and OneDrive later on. Okay, so now we know that IB can help restrict specific set of users from communicating with each other. Now the question is, why would we want to restrict users? Well, there could be scenarios where users of any particular department or business unit like finance and HR are working on confidential project and administrators do not want them to communicate with each other. So that is when information barriers policy can come in handy. Okay. Now let's discuss about what all activities it can prevent in Microsoft Teams. So below is the list of complete activities that information barrier policies can prevent. Okay, it has got almost all the activities that we can think of in Microsoft Teams. All right, so moving on. Let us now discuss about the subscriptions or license requirement for information barriers. So a user must have any of these subscriptions and only then information barrier policy will work for them. Okay, so this is a mandatory requirement. Now let's discuss about the admin roles required for managing information barriers policy. So an admin must be assigned with any of the below roles to be able to create and manage information barriers policy. All right, moving on. Let us now discuss about the prerequisites for configuring information barriers policy. So the first one is to ensure that users' attributes like title, department, and custom attributes, etc. are properly populated in Azure AD. This is required for the segmentation of users that I'll show you during our demo. Now the next one is we have to ensure that scoped directory search option is turned on in Microsoft Teams. And we also have to ensure that there is no existing address book policy in Exchange Online. If there is, please ensure to remove it. And the last prerequisite is about audit logging, which must be turned on in the Microsoft Purview portal because it can help in tracking the information barriers policy status. All right, so that's all about the prerequisites. Now let us jump into the demo. I am now logged in to the Microsoft Purview Compliance portal, and in the left navigation bar, we have to click on Information Barriers, okay? And then we have to click on Segments. So the first step in setting up Information Barriers policy is to define segments. So segments is nothing but grouping of users. Okay, so before we create any segment, we have to ensure that users have the attributes populated that we are looking to use. So for example, if I want to use a particular attribute called department, so I can do so by going to the Azure AD. I am now logged in to the Azure AD and I have created two new users for the purpose of demonstration. So those users are HR user 1 and MKT user 1. Okay. I'll first update the attribute on both user accounts so I can create the segments to target users with the attributes that I'm just going to define now. So let me first open HR user. I'll then click on Properties. Here, I have been presented with list of attributes that I can choose from. So let's say I want to update an attribute called Department, and let me say HR. All right, let me save it. I'll now go back to Users, find the other user, which is MKT user. So this is for marketing. I'll then click on Properties. I'll click the same attribute. So let me just call it MKT for marketing. I'll now save it. Okay, so I have updated the attribute that I'm going to target now while creating segments. All right, now I'm back to the Microsoft Purview portal. So under information barriers, I'll click on segments and then I'll create a new segment. So you can call it anything. Let's say I'm just going to name it as HR. I'll hit next. So here I'm going to select the attribute with which users are going to be filtered. So let's say department equals to HR. I'll hit next and submit. Now this segment has been created. I'll click done. Similarly, I'll create another segment for the marketing users. You can call it anything so that you can recall it later as to what was the reason of creating it. I'll hit next. And now again, I'll choose the same attribute. And this time I'll enter MKT. It's the same value that I entered on the user account. I'll hit next, submit, done. So now we have created two new segments, that is marketing and HR. The next step is to define policy. In order to create a new policy, I'll click on policies below segments. So from here, I can click create policy. You can name it anything. So let's say I want to restrict communication from HR to marketing. So I'll just call it block from HR to marketing. Okay. And also keep in mind that if we want to disable or restrict communication between two segments, then we have to create two policies, one for each direction. Okay. So now I'll click next. And here I'm going to choose the source segment. Let's say it's HR next. So from here, I'll select blocked and then I'll choose the target segment. It's going to be marketing, add, next. I'll turn on this policy. I'll then click next, submit. Now this policy has been created. I'll click done. And now in the very same way, I'll create another policy so that we can prevent communication from marketing to HR. I'll now just name this policy anything. All right, now I'll hit next. And then I'll choose the source segment. So this time it's going to be marketing. And then I'll hit next. From here, I'll choose the target segment. It's going to be HR, add, next. I'll turn on this policy and then I'll hit next, submit. So now this policy is being created. So this policy has been created now. Our next task is to apply the policies that we have just created. And to do the same, we have to click on Policy Application, below Policy, and then we have to click on Apply All Policies. Let me click on it. All right, so I have just clicked on Apply All Policies. And now as we can see, the current status is not started. So it can take up to 30 minutes to start applying all the policies that we have created, and the system processes about 5,000 users per hour. So let's just wait for some time. I'm going to pause this video for now, and I'll resume once the status is completed. As we can see, the status is now shows as completed. That means the policies we created are now pushed to users. So let me try to log in with either marketing or HR user and see if they can communicate with each other on Teams. I'm currently logged in with the user called marketing user, as you can see at the top right. Now I'll try to send a message to HR user and see what happens. Okay, I found the user. Now let me try to say hello. So as you can see, the message failed. Okay, and this is because the information barriers policy that we created and applied. Now let me try to send another message to Sandarbh and see what happens. Okay, as you can see, the message went to him fine. So this confirms the information barrier policy that we created is working fine as it should. Let me try to perform another test by trying to add HR user into a team called marketing campaign. Let me click manage team. As you can see, HR user is currently not a part of this team. Let me try to add it now. So as you can see, it just gave us an error that something went wrong. This is because of the information barriers policy. Let me click close. Now I'm going to log into Teams with HR user 1 account, and then I'll try to send a message to marketing user and see what happens. I am now currently logged in with HR user 1 account, as we can see on the screen. So let me try to initiate a chat with the marketing user and see what happens. So I'm just going to say test. Okay, as we can see, the message just got failed. Let me try to initiate a chat with some other user and see if I can still send my message through or not. So I just sent a message to Ashutosh and it just went fine, even though Ashutosh is offline, but the message was delivered successfully. Let me try to send a message to Sandarbh and see what happens. Okay, so it looks like message to Sandarbh was also sent fine without any problems or error messages. So now this verifies information barriers policy is working correctly. I hope you like this video, and if there is any other topic that you would like me to cover, please leave the topic name in the comments box and I will try my level best to create a video on the same. As always, thank you for your support and don't forget to subscribe my channel for more informative videos like this. Thank you. Bye for now.